What's up, y'all? This is Ramel Watley, and welcome to Truckin' Hustle, the podcast for trucking entrepreneurs. If you want to learn about the trucking industry from the business side of things, you're in the right place. Every week, I interview the people who are making it happen on a daily basis. I get them to share their successes, their failures, and sometimes even their secrets. The goal is to show you how you too can create financial freedom in the booming trucking industry. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Alright, y'all, so we are here, Truckin' Hustle. We are in ATL. This is the ATL Atlanta, Georgia takeover. Welcome. I'm here with a very, very special guest today. This is Demarco Thomas. He is the co-owner of Metromax. Metromax is a company that I would like to say is revolutionizing the dispatch industry. They're doing things different, and they're really, setting themselves up to make a really big impact. And I'm blessed to, have this opportunity to talk to Demarco. We connected, a few months ago, and we started talking, and he was telling me about all the different things that he's doing, with the industry, and it blew my mind. So, I said, hey man, I gotta fly out. I gotta come see you. I gotta come see what's going on, because this is really dope, the way you're doing things, your operation. So I just wanted to, come and touch you live. You know what I mean?
Likewise.
And really get to sit down and give the people an inside look at, what you got going on. So welcome to the show, my brother. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks for having me, man.
No doubt.
Definitely been looking forward to the podcast. Touching bases with you. You're doing great things, and just glad you allowed me to join the movement.
Thank you, for sure. Yeah. All right, so let's get into it, man. Let's start with the history. Let's start with how you got into this crazy industry, man. Because this industry is definitely something that we just kind of fall into sometimes. It's like, talk about it. How did you get into transportation?
So, wildly enough, man, I just fell into it. I had a childhood friend I grew up with who was already in the trucking. He was driving.
Okay.
And, he just presented an opportunity to invest into him and get our first truck.
Okay.
So in 2016, we bought our first truck, a semi with a dry van. And first 3 months was hell, man.
Hell, no doubt.
No experience. My background before trucking is actually corporate finance and operations.
Okay.
So
not related to transportation at all.
Not even closely related to transportation.
All right.
But the business knowledge was there.
Okay.
So in diving into business and getting your first truck, you're thinking, hey, it's all about numbers.
Right.
But you learn along the way that it's really about relationships. So diving into it, we didn't have the best factoring deal, didn't have the best truck financing.
Okay.
Didn't have the best relationships in terms of getting loads. So those first 3 months was kind of crucial to us.
Right.
Life or death.
Right.
But after we got over that 90-day mark, things started to brighten up because we did make the right relationships. We did more research into, how we should be getting loads and, how our financial performance should be.
Okay.
And from there we took off, man. Between, April 2016 and the end of 18, we accumulated 20 trucks.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah. All off of just grit and, and kind of finding our niche.
Okay.
Which was really in the dry van and refrigerated space.
Okay. So you come from corporate finance. What were some of the things when you started thinking, okay, we're gonna get into the trucking industry, right?
Uh-huh.
What were some of the things that you looked at in trucking that you saw would be something that could be a lucrative venture for you?
Okay. So the main thing is everything is moved by trucks, right? So if you look at even during the recession, trucks were still moving. People got to eat.
Right.
So I looked at the stability part of it, number one. The second thing I look at was the profit margins.
Okay.
I seen that trucking companies, the best ones, were doing somewhere between 35% profit margin.
Okay.
And I said, okay, that's a better return I can get on the stock market. Usually the stock market returns somewhere between 10 and 20%, on average.
Right.
If I can get 30, maybe I should be investing in that, especially if it's stable. So I jumped in 2016, man, when the market was just roaring between 2016 and 2018.
Okay.
And I pretty much rode that wave, man, and kind of built my company off of that wave.
Got you. All right. So let's talk about it, man. You get your first truck. You come from a corporate finance background. So you didn't know any truck drivers at the time or any?
Not one.
Nobody.
Other than my friend? None other.
Just your one friend.
Nobody in transportation.
All right. So talk to me about those first initial steps you took to even know what truck to buy.
Yeah. So the biggest step we made was online research.
Okay.
It's plenty of YouTube videos out there that you can reference, and we just started to pick the brains of people who was already in the trucking.
Okay.
I reached out actually and got a mentor.
Okay.
And then initially when you reach out to somebody and kind of tell them that you want to get into the business, they don't take you as serious until they see you in the business.
You got some skin in the game.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So when I initially reached out, it was more like, hey, I know you probably want to get into this because you see the numbers, you see some money to get it,
right.
money to be made.
Right.
And but until you get your first truck,
right.
I ain't finna spend too much time with you.
right.
So I jumped out there, man. We bought the truck.
Okay.
Researched online what permit companies to use and to actually get started, and we got rolling.
Okay.
And once we got rolling though. And we seen all the problems we had, and we showed him that, hey man, we actually serious about this business.
Mm-hmm.
That's when he kind of took us under his wing,
okay.
and showed us different components of the business and
okay.
how to scale it, because that's the key, right?
Gotcha.
I don't think nobody want to get into trucking and pretty much have one truck and just manage one truck,
right?
Because you don't even make money off of one truck. You don't
right.
really make good money until after 3 trucks.
Yeah.
And so
sure.
Kind of in partnering with him and understanding what he's done to build his company, it just propelled us. Yeah.
Got you. And what point in the journey where was his business at that time?
Yeah, so he was already at about 150 trucks.
Oh, man.
So when it came to time, I'm coming to him talking about, hey, I want to get one truck. And he's looking at me like, I hear this every day. You're just like every other person who just coming out of nowhere.
Right.
Because I got 150 saying that you want to get in the trucking.
Right.
So, I took those first 3 months just to show and prove. Like, put my money where my mouth is, went there, bought a truck, jumped out there, tried to figure it out myself, and then brought him pretty much the list of problems I was having.
Got you.
Follow me?
Yeah, and what was his business model? What was he doing?
His business model was different, man, and I learned it along the way. Never buy a truck. That's his business model.
Okay.
There's other options such as, leasing, which gives you an exit strategy when you're in the trucking business. If you go out and buy a truck, how you exit that?
Right.
Then you force at the end of it. Number one, you have a depreciating asset.
Right.
That's the value's going down.
Right.
You're having maintenance associated with buying an older vehicle.
Right.
That you always got to be prepared for and have a reserve for.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're leasing, you get a newer vehicle, less maintenance, higher note.
Yeah.
But higher driver retention.
Mm-hmm.
What driver doesn't want to be in new equipment?
For sure.
For
sure.
All those different components that just open my mind. And when you think about it, you can actually scale faster leasing versus buying. Because every time you buy a truck, that's a big capital investment.
Right.
That's a big investment on your balance sheet.
Right.
As far as liabilities. Whereas leasing, you just have a term that you have to pretty much fulfill for that truck.
Yeah. So you said when you first got started, you brought him your list of problems, right?
Of course.
You got in the game. You showed him proved, and you brought him your list of problems. Give me an idea of some of those problems that you faced early on.
The first problem was really loads.
Okay.
That was the biggest problem. We were pretty much dependent on the load board itself, and anybody who knows the load board, they knows that sometimes it dries up. You get in certain areas where there's no loads.
Right.
Or from what I learned is that most loads that are on the load board are secondary.
Okay.
Brokers and shippers already have their preferred relationships.
Right.
And when their preferred relationships don't work out, then they go to the load
right,
board.
Right.
And then you're competing with pretty much the general population to bid on the load, and you're just bidding each other down until somebody just take the lowest rate and run with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That don't even make sense, right?
Exactly.
So it was about just connecting, man. We tried to get off the load board and just establish relationships with a lot of brokers and a lot of shippers, and we did that.
Okay.
And that turned our numbers around. That got us from making, $1.90, $2 a mile to getting closer to $3 a mile, and actually seeing that rate per mile impact our bottom line.
Okay.
Which is the goal for anybody that's in trucking, is to pretty much make money, right?
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure. So what was the process like to make that transition from pretty much being dependent on a load board, where you start reaching out to people, cold calling?
Cold calling. When you do book a load with somebody, just following up with them, especially if you did a good job, to say, how often is this lane available?
Right.
Can I be your go-to guy for this lane from Georgia to Tennessee?
Right.
I can consistently deliver that for you with that same service that I just did with that prior load.
Okay.
So it's about building relationship and standing in their face, man. That can be phone calls, that can be email blasts, that can be sending gift cards to them.
Right.
Make yourself a priority to them.
Yeah, for sure. So you said you started out with how many trucks?
Start out with one.
With one truck?
Yeah.
All right, so you start with one truck. At what point do we realize that it's time to get truck number 2?
6 month mark.
6 months.
6 months. 6 months, first 3 months, trouble months, but within that 4th and 5th month, we found our rhythm and we started to close our gap as far as what we invested.
Okay.
And at the 6th month, bam, pulled a second truck. And then 3 months after that, third truck. And then we started to double up. Right? You got your pattern, you got your processes, you got your team in place.
Right.
Only thing now to do is to scale it, because you got the foundation, right?
Yeah.
So we started to double up on trucks, double up on trailers. And man, honestly, before you knew it, we was at 20 trucks and over 35 trailers, that we had under our management.
Wow.
With a fleet manager, with 5 dispatchers on staff.
Yeah.
All off our own grit.
Dope. So did you guys secure contracts? Like, where'd you get this consistent work from?
So most of it came through, shippers.
Okay.
Reaching out to them, bidding on their lanes. And about 50% was shippers and brokers, right?
Okay.
And then the other 50% we were actually getting off the load board still, because the people we established relationships just didn't have enough demand to handle our capacity. So, Monday through Friday, pretty much we was running with preferred brokers and preferred shippers.
Okay.
And then we'll jump on the load boards to pretty much handle the overflow.
Okay. And what were you pulling?
Dry vans and reefers.
Dry vans and reefers?
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing else on flatbed, nothing like that?
No flatbeds, man. Not in my personal fleet, not at that time.
Okay, dope. All right, so you started to grow this company. You said you started actually getting staff. So that's different, right?
Yes, it is.
Tell me about, transitioning into actually managing staff. Because I'm assuming when you first started out, it's kind of like a solo project, maybe you and your partner, and then it's like, now we have an actual company.
Now we have, 20 drivers.
Right.
And we got 5 dispatchers. We got 25 people that's kind of under our leadership and our guidance.
Right.
And for any entrepreneur, man, the biggest thing is managing people. Managing people and managing processes.
Right.
If you can't manage people, you can't run a business. They got to buy into your vision, buy into the things you said as far as frameworks,
right.
and follow up and deliver on those things.
Right. So what would you say is the first steps for somebody looking to kind of scale in that way? What's the first thing? What's one of the first things you start thinking about when you start moving in that direction?
What you want to think about is your end goal, and then using that end goal, you want to back into the things that you need to set up to deliver on that end goal.
Okay.
So for us, we knew that after 5 trucks, we were going to need another dispatcher.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Because pretty much I was the dispatcher for
Got
the first 5.
Got you. Right.
And my partner was the fleet manager.
Okay.
And so when we got to 5, it's like, okay, I'm bogged down booking loads. I need to get somebody who's just as customer oriented as myself,
right,
vested in trucking,
right,
to maintain the relationships between the shippers and brokers, while I go out and generate more business,
right,
while I go out and look at more trucks, look at more trailers in order to, pretty much grow our capacity.
Right.
So, man, I just put out a job ad, man, and found a young lady. She actually had experience in the fast food industry.
Okay.
No experience in trucking.
Interesting.
But people skills.
Okay.
Dispatching, you got to have tremendous people skills.
Right.
And ability to relate, and ability to think fast on your feet.
Right.
And be flexible.
Okay.
And honestly, the fast food industry, it kind of gives you that, right?
That's very true.
So
because you got to be everywhere at one time.
At
You
one
in the
time.
drive-through, you at the cashier, you
Yep.
working fries.
You never know who you're going to encounter.
That's a fact.
Right.
All different type of personalities are coming through that drive-through window.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So got home board, pretty much, trained her, and dispatching is something you probably can learn in a solid 30 days.
Okay.
It's not something that's long and drawn out.
Okay.
It's under the right tutorage, right?
Okay.
So got her up to speed, And that allowed me to free up and start recruiting drivers and getting more equipment. And, bounced up and got 5 more trucks. Okay, we need another dispatcher.
Right.
And then, every 5 trucks, we added a dispatcher. And, along the way, you're just like, damn, I'm growing fast. I got a good team around me.
Right.
But my profit margins are starting to dip.
Okay.
Even though I'm scaling, I'm making more money dollar-wise, but percentage-wise, I'm not growing as fast.
Right.
Like you're thinking, I'm a compound 30% for every truck.
Right.
But it wasn't happening like that because my overhead was growing.
Okay.
And so I met another gentleman who had a trucking company. He's Indian.
Okay.
And we just kind of talked about some best practices.
Okay.
A lot of people in trucking don't do that a lot. You don't sit down with somebody, a peer of yours, and just talk about what they're working on, what you're working on. Is there any synergies we can have working together, whether it's trading loads or trading brokers?
Right.
And in our perspective, it was like, man, how can we trade costs? How can we how can we sit together and figure out a way to save money, bottom line, to both of us?
Yeah.
And so that led to us doing a couple things. Number one, anytime we do a deal for factoring, insurance, etc., we start doing it as a group.
Okay.
I'm coming in with my 20, he's coming in with his 10. He knows some other people, and altogether it's about 50 trucks of people. And so we're coming to a factoring company, not as just 1 truck or 20 trucks. We're coming as 50, and we commanding the best rate for all 50 of us.
That's a jewel right there. That's
and we're doing the same thing in insurance. We're doing the same thing when it comes to driver recruitment.
Okay.
And then finally, we said, you know what, we might as well do it from a dispatching standpoint.
Okay.
And so my partner, my now business partner in Metromax, he's Indian, and he said, we can do this whole dispatching thing from India. And at first I was like, man, no, man, it's no way. it's not happening, man.
From India?
From India. It blew my mind. It was like
India, Georgia, or India?
India, the country.
India, the country. Okay.
India, the country.
Okay.
Man. And so, he just educated me. You look at Amazon, C.H. Robinson. They have back office in India. So you're booking a load with some of these brokers.
Right.
And you're thinking that you're speaking to resources here in the States. Those are resources that are outside the States, that are outsourced.
Wow.
And still providing that level of quality and service when it comes to transportation.
Okay.
And so did our research, formed our vision of what we wanted to do in terms of lowering our dispatch costs, and we went to India and we set up shop, man.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. All right, so listen, we got to dive into that.
Let's do it.
Let's start with training. Going to a foreign country, and trying to teach how to dispatch in an American country.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. How was that process? What did you guys? I mean, did you lay it out first and then go there and then give it to them, or did you go there kind of gauge? Talk about that.
So the way we did it was we did it in phases.
Okay.
Right. The first phase is we introduced them to trucking in general.
Okay.
Gave them some videos, books to read about trucking.
Okay.
And then we started them with back office process. Simple things such as admin work, like submitting loads to factoring.
Okay.
Adding drivers to insurance.
Okay.
Managing driver and fleet records and stuff like that.
Okay.
Stuff that's really administrative, but at the same time, it gives you knowledge of trucking.
Okay.
You're gonna start to ask, what's a broker? What's a factoring company?
Right.
What's a BOL? And then from there we built on now that you know what trucking is, let me show you how to do it. And we did a lot of training. We utilized some of the resources that are already out there. Like on YouTube, there's plenty of people that already got dispatching courses,
right?
For free, and some people have them paid. And we just had our people go and look at those courses.
Okay.
And once they got familiar with just the concept of dispatching, we actually went there and you started to show them the rules of the road. You started to teach them hours of service.
Right.
Fundamental things like, how far is Atlanta from Houston?
Right.
And, what's the rate per mile? How do you calculate it?
Right.
You literally have to, it's like teaching a baby how to walk.
Right. I can imagine.
Where you're hand holding throughout the whole process, but these are smart individuals.
Right.
These are college educated people who just don't know trucking.
Yeah.
So once you show them trucking,
yeah,
they're gonna kill it.
Got you.
Yeah. And so
what's the industry like? The trucking industry like there in India? I mean,
yeah.
So talk to me about that.
So India is a third world country.
Right.
It's still developing. They do have transportation, but it's a lot more fragmented than ours.
Right.
Whereas
And not really regulated.
Not really regulated.
Okay.
You got cows and cars on the same road in certain
Right,
parts of
right,
India.
right,
Like
right,
it's
right.
still pretty rural.
Right.
But a lot of companies, such as the ones I mentioned, and some that I worked for, they already have solid foundations in India in terms of back office support.
Okay.
What we just found is that it hasn't really hit the transportation industry like that.
Mm.
So it's already big in IT.
Gotcha.
Right? They're already, IT companies are huge in India.
Right.
And they employ millions of people.
Right.
Same with our hospitality.
Okay.
Same with the medical field.
Okay.
But the transportation is untapped. And so
wow.
that's what we come to play in. That's what Metromax is looking to pretty much put our stake in.
Got you. So did you guys did you guys outsource a company that was already in place, or?
No, we my partner's Indian, right?
Okay.
So he's from India, lived there 30 years.
Okay.
And so it was simply going there and starting a business just like we would do in the U.S.
Okay.
Registering for a business license, finding an office space,
Wow.
hiring resources and training them,
Okay.
virtually and in person.
Okay. Okay. Talk to me about some of the bumps in the road, because I know this couldn't have been a totally smooth transition. There's nothing you could tell me. Tell me about some of the bumps in the road. Tell me about a huge failure. Like, what did he do?
Yeah.
I know you had to have a what did he do moment.
Well, the biggest thing was, booking the load. That's the bread and butter.
Right.
So we just had a couple of dispatchers initially. They didn't understand the concept of deadhead miles.
Okay.
They would see a load. Let's just say we're in Atlanta. They'll see a load in Chattanooga. And Chattanooga, let's just say it's plus 200 miles away.
Right.
It goes from Chattanooga to Ohio. They'll say, wow, that's maybe 600 miles, rate of $2,000.
Okay.
That's a good load.
Right.
We're gonna take that.
Gonna jump on that.
Yeah, they ain't even consider the fact like, they're in Atlanta and they got to drive to Chattanooga. They're gonna spend gas,
Right.
deadheading up to Chattanooga to get the load. And once you combine all of it together,
Right.
the numbers don't make sense.
Right.
And so just the simple concepts of that, as well as hours of service.
Okay.
From a dispatcher standpoint, they were just thinking the most loads and revenue I can make this driver,
Okay.
the happier they're going to be.
Okay.
But it's not all about revenue. It's about rate per mile, and it's about making sure the legal limits of what they can drive. So you can't book loads too close, and you can't. They can't drive 24/7.
Right.
And so the dispatchers had to learn to space their time out, which was pretty crucial, man. So we had some incidents, man, and luckily we started with our own trucks.
Okay.
So
there you go.
My clients never felt that impact
Ah,
because I took those hits.
Dope.
I took those
That's
hits.
good. If anybody got to take them.
I took them for 6 months.
Okay. Okay.
But at the same time I was taking those hits, I was reducing my costs too.
Right.
So financially, I was still okay, even if I was doing more deadhead miles, even if I had a truck sit for a day.
Okay.
It was cool because my cost structure was in the right place.
Got you. So, what is the formula that you would teach to a new dispatcher? Like,
Sure.
if you want to just give them the basis, like this is what you should be looking for when you're dispatching a load. What would be that formula?
I would say you want to look for the hot markets. You want to, especially just getting in, you're not going to have a lot of relationships, and so for the most part, you're going to have to chase loads.
Okay.
And you want to get your clients in the areas that are pretty much have a high ratio of loads versus trucks.
Okay.
So you can command a higher rate, and you can start to build your business and build your credibility with your client, because you need to keep them moving and they want to see that.
Right.
But also build your relationships with the brokers along the way. And it's not easy. A lot of people think you can just get a laptop, do some training, and then do dispatching.
Right.
And which is true. The barrier of entry is low.
Right.
But the ability to maintain it and grow it is more how do you say is more challenging.
Okay.
Most mom and pops dispatchers they may dispatch 10 trucks, You know, that wasn't our goal. You know, we kind of came in with the vision of how can we lay out our dispatch company to dispatch 1,000 trucks.
Right.
You know, and in a year, you know, we grew to 150. We 150
Wow.
under dispatch right now.
Wow. 150 trucks
150
under dispatch.
we touch every day. Yeah.
And in addition to your own fleet.
Of course. No. So
okay, so that's included
130 outside of my own fleet. So
okay.
altogether 150.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. Do you deal with your own fleet any differently than you deal with the
of course
the
not.
carriers?
Of course not, man. You know, it's business.
Okay. Okay.
You know, I'm looking to make money both ways, not just one way.
Right.
So I actually use the relationships I got from, you know, my fleet to spread to other clients.
Okay.
You know, I don't do insurance. I don't do, you know, factoring, all those other different components. So as I grew my company, I built relationships with driver recruiting.
Okay.
I built relationships with a factoring company, with an insurance company.
Okay.
And then once I get a client, I expose them to that.
Okay.
You know, I get them under the umbrella, and I say, man, let me look at your P&L. Let me see how you know where your costs at.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah,
I know how to minimize costs, man.
Got you.
So
and that's what it's about. That's what we're in
course.
business for.
Of course. You
Right.
know, when you think about revenue, only about, I'll say 15 to 30% of top line revenue go to your bottom line.
Okay.
Think about that, 15 to 30%.
Okay.
But cost, 100% of the cost go to your bottom line. So where you should spend more time at?
You should spend more time with your
cost side.
costs. Yeah, for sure.
Because it goes straight to the bottom line, 100%.
Yeah.
Right? Revenue, only 15 to 30. So you want to also, you know, revenue pays the bill, so you want to make sure you got good revenue numbers.
Yeah.
But the cost is what separates you and make you profitable. So, you know, managing your fuel, managing your overhead costs as far as operations, your insurance, your factoring, you know, all those different components is what's going to make you successful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dope. So let's talk about your company. Let's talk about Metromax.
Like
you said, there's a lot of dispatch companies out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dispatchers out there, independent.
Yeah.
It's a very it's very talked about in the industry now because, like you said, the barrier to entry is low. What sets you apart? What makes Metromax different from everybody else out there?
A couple of things. The number one thing is our cost of doing business. You know, we dispatch loads for, you know, around 3% on average.
3%.
3%.
Wow.
3%.
3%. And what's the industry standard? Just to put that in context.
Somewhere between 5 and 10. You know, probably average is about 7.
Okay.
So we're like 4 points below the average.
Wow.
And we still delivering the same quality.
Okay.
And we providing 24/7 support. And we handling billing and invoicing. So, you know, you deliver a load, you don't feel like factoring it. No, we got a mobile app, man. Load it up to our mobile. Have your driver take a picture. It loads up to our mobile app. My back office take it and submit it to your factoring company or your shipper or broker. Get you paid within 10 minutes, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dope.
Real efficient.
Dope. What talk to me about some of the other services that you guys do, because I know you offer some other things as well, right?
Number one, from a dispatching standpoint, I know you kind of spoke of just the dispatching industry. It is a lot of dispatchers, a lot of mom and pops dispatchers, a lot of people who are building their company around dispatching.
Right.
We're starting to collaborate with them as well.
Okay.
So, you know, dispatching is a 24/7, 365 job.
For sure.
And what we've done over the last couple of months is we partnered with a couple of dispatching companies who, you know, they like, hey, man, we tired of working weekends. We tired of working nights. You know, can you come in and help us with that?
Okay.
And so we've offered them a service offering with Metromax. We come in, we handle the after-hour support for you.
That's dope.
And allow you to still be the face of your clients and represent and manage your clients the way you want to, and help scale your business.
Wow.
You know,
That's dope.
You don't have to be a dispatching company and feel like you can't work with us, because we're looking to work with you, because it's power in numbers.
Wow.
You know, you got things that we can learn from you, and we definitely got some things that we can show you as well.
Right.
And most importantly, I can help you scale.
Right.
I can help you scale fast at a low rate.
That's dope. That's dope. What
some
else?
Some of the other functions we're in, insurance. We got a great partnership with South Atlantic, where we get some great rates in terms of insurance. Pretty much, I think we probably can beat any rate.
Okay.
As long as your safer score is in a good condition.
Okay.
Factoring, we offer a factoring bundle deal, dispatch and factoring. 6% if you got 1 to 5 trucks. But if you got a fleet, man, we can get aggressive and get all the way down to like 3-4%, factoring and dispatching.
Wow. Wow.
Some people factoring rate is
unheard of, man.
Some people factoring rate of 4%, bro.
Yeah.
And I can factor and dispatch you for less than that.
Wow. Wow.
So economies of scale, man.
Yeah.
Being able to offer something to help carriers' bottom line. And other thing is NextTrack. They're a partner of ours. It's an ELD company. We form a relationship with that because we noticed that a lot of our clients didn't have good ELD systems. Kept running into issues or didn't have good onboarding.
Right.
Didn't have guidance. So I used them personally,
right.
So I vetted them myself,
right.
And then formed a relationship with them and offer them to a lot of our clients now where, I know they got a reliable ELD system that I can speak to too, as a company to say, hey, if you got a problem, you need to make these changes within your log or, these are the analytics that you need to look into when you're managing your fleet,
right.
And pretty much educating them. Partner with 10th Street, first company to have a referral program with 10th Street. Metromax.
Man, that's crazy. That's what's up. That's what's up.
Metromax, brother.
10th Street is huge, man.
Yeah, man. 4 million drivers. 4 million drivers. So our clients don't worry about drivers.
Right.
Because we got a funnel to make sure they consistently have drivers. And drivers are the lifeline of a trucking company.
Right.
Ask any fleet owner. If they don't have a driver, they don't have a trucking business.
Right.
So, the goal is to protect them. And, all of these different partnerships are cost effective. And that's the goal of it, right?
Yeah.
How can I reduce costs in a trucking company? Because the person you want to take care of the most is the man behind the wheel.
Right.
That should be your biggest cost.
Right.
It's the man behind the wheel.
That's a fact.
It shouldn't be insurance. It shouldn't be factoring. It shouldn't be overhead. It's that guy who's waking up day in, day out, busting his ass to get one load from A to B.
Right.
And doing it on a consistent basis. And when you reward him, you have no problem with driver retention.
Yeah.
You have no problem with driver recruiting because
right.
drivers attract drivers. They're gonna be your biggest advocate. They're gonna be the ones at the truck stop. Like, man, you need to be on our team.
Right.
I'm over here eating.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, you guys offer a suite of services. Yeah. It's like you pretty much cover everything. And you said earlier in the interview, when you started the company, you kind of like reverse engineered. You had your vision.
Yeah.
Was this intentional? Did you know you were going in this direction, or did it kind of evolve into this?
We knew it, right? As a carrier, I knew my pain points.
Okay.
So I knew if I wanted a company, if I was going to hire a dispatching company, and I got to the point where I was about to, right? Because I'm like, man, I'm at 20 trucks, but I'm still like stuck into the normal routine of things.
Right.
And, maybe I should just hire a dispatching company and let them manage just the operations and let me just focus on the strategic growth.
Right.
But I couldn't find one that offered all those different components of what I would want as a dispatching company. So guess what you do? You start your own, right?
Yeah.
And so I started it with that vision of knowing what I wanted and then reverse engineering and building and putting those things in place.
Right.
And then along the way, you're right, some things just pop out. Like I never thought that I'll be, servicing other dispatching companies.
Right. Who would have thought? Like you're working with the enemy.
Hey man,
the competitor.
The competitor.
Right, but they're allies now.
But we don't have to be competitors.
Right.
That's what I learned.
It's
I'm like,
all perspective.
I don't have to go in here I don't have to go in here and compete with you. I can come in here and collaborate and complement your business.
Yeah.
And that became my goal. Where we're securing who we are in terms of rate and the amount of volume we have as a company.
Right.
We're not a small operation.
Right.
We're over 20 people on staff, not including the 150 drivers that we support and their managers. We got a whole social media team,
right,
and everything that's dedicated to the success of Metromax.
Okay. And
we can take that same model and we can start to support other dispatchers and other trucking companies in different ways.
Wow, that's dope. Let's get back to the outsourcing again. I just want to touch on that a little bit more. So, because I'm still just trying to wrap my head around how you guys do everything. So with the in India, How many touch points do you have on a regular basis with your team in India? Like, do you guys talk daily? Like, how do you work that whole process out? Because I mean, they're in another country.
Yeah. So number one is it's a self-sustained operations where you have dispatchers, then you have a dispatching manager, and then you have what's called a center head.
Okay.
And a center head looks at our whole operations. The dispatching manager, the social media manager, and really the process and billing manager all report to the center head. So you got three main areas of operations.
Okay.
What we tried to focus on initially was back office.
Okay.
Right. Once we mastered back office and got a manager for that, then we went to dispatching.
Okay.
Once we built our dispatching core and got a manager for that, then we went to social media.
Gotcha.
So we did everything in phases. It's not like day one you can just jump into it and just have everything all at one time.
Right.
Like you literally have to build the founding blocks and take those stepping stones to get there.
Right.
And the most important part is finding the right people.
Right.
It's the hiring part. You want to hire people that has the transferable skill sets, because they're not necessarily going to have the transportation skill set because they haven't been exposed to transportation in the U.S.
Right.
But they have been exposed to customer service, working with companies like Merrill Lynch. They have been exposed to billing and invoicing because maybe they work for the back office of C.H. Robinson.
Right.
They have been exposed to negotiations because they handle negotiations for certain bidding companies that are patient billing,
right.
For instance, collections.
Right.
A lot of collection companies are based out of India, where they're calling you and trying to negotiate a debt, no different than negotiating a loan.
Right.
And so it's just taking those skill sets and identifying those skill sets in different industries and saying, okay, you got something that I can transfer into trucking. You already got a foundation. Let me just teach you about the business.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the industry now and compared to when you first got started.
Yeah, so it was beautiful when I first got started, man. Like, rates was up. It was way more trucks than freight in 2016, 2017, as well as, the majority of 2018. And so, the margins were at an all-time high for trucking companies.
Right.
Things
and what were those margins at that time?
For us, it was like around 35%.
Okay.
We was running, every dollar we brought in revenue, 30 cents
right.
is going to the bottom line.
Right.
So we was killing it. And that's why we was able to grow so fast, right?
Right.
Because we caught that wave and we just climbed up it.
Okay.
But as a lot of trucking companies experienced in 2019, that was pretty much a bloodbath for trucking companies.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking at the news, man, millions of truck drivers lost their jobs.
Right.
Hundreds of trucking companies shut down.
Yeah.
The highest level of trucking companies shut down in 2019, and probably the last 10 years or something.
Right.
And and what happened was it was so much built up in trucking companies from 16 up to 18 that 19 it just was an oversupply, should I say, of trucking companies.
Right.
And then everybody started to compete for the rate.
Right.
And that drove the rate down.
Right.
And once the rate is down, your cost of business is still right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But your profit margins are shrinking.
Right.
And what happened was a lot of people got either to the break-even point or they got negative.
Right.
And so a lot of companies just crashed out. The blessing we had was that we were already ahead of the game.
You already established.
Already established, number one. But number two, we already had a low cost structure.
Oh, okay.
Going into 2019 with
Gotcha.
Outsourcing, right?
Gotcha.
And so when, the rate per miles, the contract rates actually fluctuated down, not making as much money, but, we still, 20%, 25% gross margins. A lot of people fell negative or fell, 10% or less.
Okay.
And that's the difference. And, for me, I had a lot of people in 2019 approach me about getting into the trucking business.
Right.
I was, honestly, it was not the right time.
Okay.
In my opinion, not to start a new authority, not to start a new MC, and then kind of compete. against more established companies where they have better relationships already, and it's less demand for trucking. That's the key.
Right.
Don't get into anything if the demand wasn't there.
Right.
And you got to look at the news, man. If these trucking companies that own 500 trucks, 1,000 trucks, they're going out of business. Why would you get in it?
Right.
Like what? Like
right.
they have way more knowledge of trucking. They have way more resources
Right.
at 1,000 trucks.
Right.
And they're failing.
Right.
So you think you can get in with one truck with less resources and succeed? Like, no.
Yeah.
Like, just take a step back, man. Take 2019 and just learn and research and get ready for the industry to turn back around, for the trucking recession to kind of shift in the area, and then jump in.
Got you.
And so that's kind of my whole process, my whole thought behind it. And my number one thought is you shouldn't buy a truck. And that comes from somebody who's bought trucks.
Right.
Who's bought 10.
Right.
I was 10 in before I figured out, damn, I shouldn't be buying these.
Got you.
There's other ways.
Got you. What are some of the signs that you think people should be looking for when is the right time? Like,
the right time is when you're seeing rates consistently go up.
okay.
I would say that January of this year isn't as bad as January of last year.
Okay.
So 2020, it appears to be so far. I mean, we're only a couple weeks
right.
but it looks like it's trending in a good, positive position. But and that's because so many trucking companies failed last year.
Right.
That the demand is kind of diminish, and so there is room for extra capacity, but still you got to get it in the right way. You got to get it in a cost-effective way. You can't get it in the traditional way that I did 4 years ago, that people was done decades ago. You got to come in with an approach that's less money from your pocket, and then you're having the budget or the line of credit to deal with a couple hiccups along the way.
Right.
And that's why I think a lot of people fail at. If you only got $30,000 in the bank, you shouldn't go buy a truck.
Right.
You just shouldn't, because you can blow a motor for $20,000. You can blow a transmission for $10,000. And you can get warranties for these things from trucking companies. But when you look at the fine print of some of those warranties, there's so many stipulations around what they can cover and what they will not cover.
Right.
That the devil in the details. They can kill you in the details.
That's a fact. What do you think are some of the major things that are impacting the industry right now, like from political scale, like the world view of what's going on right now?
I think definitely the political climate. Any unrest in politics. Especially with trade with China, trade with Mexico. That's a lifeline for trucking.
Right.
Getting things imported and then moving it within the United States. So when there's any questioning in regards to what's the future demand of that affects trucking.
Right.
Shippers become tighter in terms of who they want to deal with, how they want to deal with.
Right.
Their rates become lower because they have less inflowing revenue on their end, so they're looking to save money as well.
Right.
So I think you got to definitely look at politics, insurance. Insurance has been a killer lately, and it's because of two reasons, right? Accidents, right? But the second reason is because of so many companies going out of business.
Right.
With companies going out of business, the risk becomes higher.
Right.
And now insurance companies are really like targeting people who don't have CDL licenses. So you may get one quote if you're the actual CDL driver for that asset.
Right.
But they may quote you completely different if you're just saying, hey, I'm an investor and I'm gonna hire a driver and put him in the truck. They're gonna quote you higher because you're higher risk.
Right.
You can't even move that asset
without
a third party.
That's a fact.
And they're gonna look at that.
What do you think about Amazon? What's your take on what Amazon is doing right now in the industry?
Work with them, not against them. Hey man, you gotta find a way to work with them. I mean, they got Amazon Relay, they got the DSP program, and it offers a lot of opportunities for startups.
Right.
You know, and they pretty much giving you the infrastructure, which is key because that's costly.
Right.
And you know, use their dime, their pockets way deeper than yours.
Right.
And
sure.
so it's a good way to get started and maybe branch off on your own, you know, down the road. But I mean, you look at it, man. Amazon is doing same-day delivery now.
Right.
You know, how can they accomplish that? They got to partner with mom and pop's trucking companies.
That's a fact.
You know, owner operators, people who own trucks from 1 to 5 units. They make up about 90% of the trucking industry.
Right.
People who own 1 to 5 trucks make up 90% of trucking.
That's important.
Yeah.
That's super important.
So they got to tap into you.
Yeah.
And you need to just be ready to take advantage of that. You know, having your infrastructure in place. You know, having your business together to do business with Amazon.
Right. Do you think them kind of having a strong hold on transportation is good for the industry as a whole?
I'm not gonna say it's good or bad. I'm gonna just say it's changed.
Okay.
You know, that's part of any business.
Right.
You know, it's nothing you're gonna stay in that's gonna be consistent and constant. So as a business owner, you got to stay ahead of that change and see how you can still make money within it.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't think it's bad. I think it's forcing people out of their comfort zones that they have for years in terms of logistics.
Right.
And just making people, you know, thinking outside the box.
Yeah. So it seems like, you know, just in listening to you speak, it seems like you just go with the flow of things. You're not about resistance. It's like whatever, you don't want to clash with anybody. It's kind of like,
I can't control it.
Whatever's in the way, like, I'm not trying to knock you over. I'm trying to see how I could help. You know what I mean? Is that kind of just your approach to everything?
Man, that's the way I always been, man. I'm a networker. Like, I got no problem reaching out to people and learning from them. I got no problem. I don't know everything.
Right.
So I'm a sponge.
Right.
I look to learn.
Right.
You know, I look to work with people.
Right.
I know that, you know, power in numbers.
Right.
You don't grow unless you got good people in your network and a good team around you.
Right.
So I'm always willing to look at different ways of doing business. I'm a businessman when it's all said and done. I'm not a trucking guru. I'm not a person who is specialized in one area.
Right.
You know, I can look at multiple areas and make my mark in it and be successful in it.
What do you think is your biggest strength?
I think my biggest strength is vision.
Okay.
Strategy.
Okay.
You know, I think outside the box when it comes to a lot of things, man. You
Okay.
know, I got the ability to pretty much look at where I want to go in a certain space.
Right.
And then re-engineer it and put the things in place to accomplish it.
Got you. And what do you think is your biggest weakness?
I would say my biggest weakness is that's a good question. I would say it evolve around a little bit of time management.
Okay.
Because you know,
I'm surprised. I think your time management skills were kind of good.
Because once I'm locked into something, sometimes it's tunnel vision.
You overdo it sometimes.
I overdo it.
Gotcha. You got to draw back sometimes.
When I thought about, you know, dispatching outsourcing, I locked into it.
Yeah.
You know, I put all my energy into it, and then it took my partner, you know, took your team to tell me, hey, you know, we really going hard on this dispatching thing. Don't forget about billing and invoicing.
Right.
Don't forget about 24/7 support.
Right.
You know, and just, you know, it changes my lens to be more broad. And that's what you want as a team.
Right.
You know, you're not going to be strong in everything.
Right.
But you want people who can balance out your weaknesses.
That's a fact. That's a fact. For the entrepreneurs out there, people trying to get into business in general and specifically in the industry, talk to me about some of the mindset things. You know, routine. You know, some people have morning routines. What are some of the things that you've done to be successful?
Oh, structure.
Okay.
You know, 4:30 every morning I'm waking up. 5 a.m. I'm in the gym. I'm in LA Fitness.
Okay.
Shout out to them.
Shameless plug. LA Fit. We need that bag.
Holla at me. I'm in there, man. And by 7 a.m. I'm back at the crib. I'm showering. About 9, I'm either in the office or I'm online. You know, getting ready. You know, catching up with my team in terms of the deliverables for the day. You know, between 9 and 11. I'm just looking at the normal course of business. 12, I'm starting to network.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm making calls.
Gotcha.
I'm formulating, ideas on things that I want to deliver on. Around 3 to 5.
Right.
I'm pretty much going out and setting up meetings and meeting people in person,
Okay.
especially if they're in Atlanta,
Okay.
or doing a lot of heavy conference calls in terms of new developments.
Okay.
And that's my pattern. Beginning of the day, I start off getting my energy up. Midday, I'm checking in with my team. Early afternoon, I'm following up on calls from maybe the prior day or the same day of. And then the end of the day, I'm always looking ahead.
Gotcha.
I'm always looking ahead at the end of the day. I'm always
Gotcha.
planning for the next
Planning
day.
tomorrow.
Exactly.
Where'd you get that from?
The military.
Military.
I was in the Navy, man.
Okay.
And they put me on a regiment.
Right.
I had to wake up at 5 in the morning. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you get used to it.
Yeah.
I had, they had a morning meeting to kick off the day. They had a touch point at the beginning of the day to see how everything was going.
Yeah.
And then they had an end of the day.
Yeah.
Rally to make sure you did what you said you was going to do, and you getting ready for 5 o'clock in the morning the next day.
Right.
And so it just gave me that discipline, man.
No doubt. So what's next for Metromax, man? I mean, you guys have just really revolutionized the dispatch industry. What's next for you guys?
We're going to touch everything. So we're going to partner with we've already partnered with 2 factoring companies, and we're doing their back office.
Okay.
So we're handling their accounts receivables and their accounts payables. We're going to do the same thing with some freight brokers.
Okay.
We're going to partner with them and post loads on their behalf and negotiate loads and book loads on their behalf.
Dope.
And this is from the Metromax Solutions lens. So Metromax is 2 entities. There's Metromax Dispatch, which focus on getting loads and dispatching the carriers, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
And then there's Metromax Solutions, which just really focus on outsourcing and supporting companies from an outsourced standpoint.
Okay.
That could be transportation companies. That could be medical companies like dental offices handling their scheduling.
Right.
There could be real estate companies in terms of bidding and handling their data research in terms of property. So, the scope of Metromax is wide, man. And, we're just starting off in the transportation space. We're going to dig a little deeper into that. We're working with more insurance companies, factoring companies, brokers, doing some training as well. I'm not looking to have a training class or a training module. That's not my strength.
Right.
And I know that.
Right.
But I am going to partner with some companies that do training in order to, give them my perspective on it, some things I've learned, and maybe come in and speak, just in general a couple times, and pretty much just build awareness. Because the more educated people I can get in transportation, the better off my business is, right?
Right.
And for me, even our clients, we consult them for free.
Right.
Once you signed on with us and we're dispatching you, our information is free. You don't
Right,
have to charge
right.
for our time.
Wow.
So that's why I see it, man. Outsourcing is so broad. There's no function that you can't outsource. There's no function, I want to say it again, outside of driving the truck.
Right.
But anything that's behind the phone or behind the computer, no matter what industry you're in, it can be outsourced. And so Metromax is going to bring that to our culture, to our community.
Right.
The minority community.
Yeah.
Where we're underserved in terms of the knowledge of outsourcing and the ability to outsource.
Wow.
We're going to inform you about that and empower you to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really dope, man. Man, you blown my mind today, man. You really given a lot of information, a lot of insight, and I'm just excited to watch you guys grow, man. I'm glad I met you at this point in your business. I mean, you guys are already doing great things, but I could only imagine with the business model and the way you guys are set up to scale, what the future looks like for you guys. So, I always end my shows. It's very important that I let my guests give a final jewel, a final thought, whether it's a mindset, spiritual, wherever you want to go with it. Just something you want to leave everybody with, to just kind of encourage, the entrepreneurs out there and the people aspiring to get into business and into this trucking industry. What would you tell them?
Biggest jewel, be creative. Be creative and be yourself. It's a lot of ways of doing business. Don't just look at the traditional way and feel like I got to follow this blueprint. Look at a blueprint, but take it and make it your own and make it something that fit your vision and be creative about that. And along the way, continue to be yourself. You know, you'll be surprised by the number of people that gravitate to your natural self versus you trying to prepare yourself as something that you're not.
Right.
And so those are the two things, man. Be creative and be yourself.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. And where can people reach out to you? Where could they connect with you, learn more about Metromax?
Sure. MetromaxDispatch.com is our main website. We're also on all social media platforms.
Okay.
Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. And also we have Metromax Solutions website that just got launched last week.
Okay.
So check that out, man. You know, I think you'll be impressed by what we offer and what we can do. And we'll love to work with you. And if we can't do business, man, we'll love to just network and collaborate and learn from you. So give us a holler.
Dope. Demarco Thomas, man, I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank the Gathering Spot for allowing us to shoot here today. Listen, Truck and Hustle, we are out. You know what I like to say. If you smell something burning, it's only a desire. All right, y'all? We out.
Let's go.